Early morning Miz in the midday. You know if I'm coming from the car, I got something to say. It's usually not gonna be happy. Look, man, Chris Canty. Chris Canty has turned out to be one of the biggest Giants hater. He's made a living on TV off hating on the New York Giants, the franchise that gave him a ring. And yo, no doubt, Chris Canty was a factor, right? He was a good player. But let's make no mistake about it. He better thank the OCs and the Strahans and a bunch of those veterans on that team. Okay, the Brandon Jacobs. Okay? He better thank a lot of players for that ring he's got on his hand. I don't see the ring he got in Dallas. Now, I understand he tries to keep it as real as he can and not be a homer. That's great, but he goes way too far the other way. He's made a living off hating on the football Giants, the franchise that gave him everything. And I'm going to explain to you why, right? Again this morning, I've listened to a lot of Canty's rants over the last 2-3 years, and I've never said anything about him. Canty says, under no circumstance, under no way should the New York Giants draft Shedeur Sanders, right? He says they should not draft a quarterback at all. Now, here's where I call the bullshit on Chris Canty. Yeah, that's me, Miz, out here, Canty. I'm calling you bullshit. Why? Because Chris Canty wants to sit there and tell you the Giants shouldn't draft a quarterback because the Giants are ill-ready to develop a quarterback on this team. He says the team has no talent and it's going nowhere and that they're going to finish dead last in the division next year. And what does he base that on? Last year. That's where you're wrong. The Giants do have young talent on this team. They got a running back. They got a tight end. Last year, before Andrew Thomas went down, they actually had a solid offensive line. Okay? Young running back, as I said. Superstar wide receiver. A complimentary slot receiver. Now they went out and brought in 2 veteran quarterbacks. What they didn't have the last few years, a quarterback. What they still don't have on this team, a young quarterback. And no, DeVito's not that guy. Right? But Canty, and wait a minute. If you look at the secondary and the defense, the Giants should have one of the better defenses in football. And if they choose to add Abdul Carter, there are scouts and guys out there that'll tell you with a straight face, the Giants might have the best defense in the entire NFC conference if they did draft Carter at 3, which everyone knows I believe is the right pick at 3, and then you got to find your way back up to get your quarterback. I believe that's the way to go, but there are a lot of people that believe, no, you just draft your kid at 3, and that's the way to go, and I wouldn't be angry at that. I'd understand that. There's 2 perspectives to this, and I don't think either side is completely wrong. Giants is stuck in between 2 rocks, and you only can choose one way. But for Canty to say that the Giants have no right to draft a Shedeur Sanders at 3, and everyone knows I haven't been the biggest advocate of a Shedeur Sanders. I don't believe he's valued at 3. I believe he's a quarterback that's going to have to be worked on, and then you could probably get him somewhere a little later. Of course, that's always a gamble when it comes to letting a quarterback slide and hoping to come back up and get him. Of course, that's a gamble. But for Canty to sit there and tell you that the Giants have no right to get Shedeur because they can't develop him, they don't have the team yet, and that they would ruin him. He makes it sound like that. This is where I call the bullshit on Canty, because the real truth is that Canty knows this. He doesn't believe Shedeur Sanders is a 3rd pick overall quarterback. He doesn't believe in him like that. But he's using the road of, oh, the Giants suck, they stink, they have no right to draft Shedeur, they would only ruin him. Instead of telling you the truth, that he's not a believer in Shedeur, and he'd rather the Giants draft Abdul Carter. You see? There's where the bullshit lies. Canty's hiding, because he doesn't want to take on the pushback and the haters that the people that don't believe drafting Shedeur at 3 have taken on, like me, from a lot of our fans. But I'm not afraid to take on it. Canty's hiding from it. He don't want the Stephen A's smoke. He don't want the smoke from the people that love Shador. So what does he do? He pins the shit on the Giants. Instead of manning up and saying, Shador isn't that guy, I wouldn't draft him at 3. Simple. Be a man. Come out, say the truth. Nah, he hides behind the Giants stink and they wouldn't know what to do with him. And that's a damn lie. Someone who doesn't want really Shador at 3, I'd rather have him later, or maybe we end up with a Milrow, right? Me. And I've been out there and put my head out there for people, and I don't hide from it. I believe if Shador was a Giant, they would produce him, and they would have a really good team in the future. So I'm not completely against drafting Shador. I think he could be a really good quarterback, you see? I just don't think you could pass on a Carter. You got to find a way to get both if you can. And if not, you draft a Milrow or a Dart. You make it work. Especially when I still believe Dable is a quarterback coach who can develop a quarterback and has not been given his guy yet. I actually loved Canty as a player, and I also like listening to him. He's an educated speaker who understands football really well, and he doesn't, he usually gives you the straight truth, even if you're not going to like it. But right here, today, what he said this morning, I got to call bullshit on him, because he's not coming out and saying the reason why straight up. Be a man. Tell the truth. Don't hide and cover it up with other crap. You know who I respect? Louis Riddick. Because he comes out and tells you the damn truth. He has all the reason to hate on the Giants because they passed on him in a GM, and I would have loved to have him as a GM because I think Louis is brilliant. But he doesn't trash the Giants. He tells you what they got to do. He tells you what other teams got to do. He keeps it so real. He's so serious. And he has no agendas. And I respect that man. I love listening to Louis. And what does he do? He actually wants the Giants to draft Shador. Why? Because he challenges the Giants to have the balls to pass on him. Now, I don't share the same sentiment, but I respect the way he puts it out there because he's telling you what he feels, and I respect that. Just like a lot of the people out there that want Shador, the ones who keep it real, I respect why you want him. And I would understand the Giants drafting him, and they still very well may draft him next Thursday night because he is the guy that's been pinned to the Giants for months. And he is the guy the Giants have been following real strongly. And as I've said before, nobody knows Shador more than the Giants brass. They've been living there for a year. So I'm going to respect whatever decision they make. Again, Canty, say what you really want to say. Don't hide.